You are now listening to the Hunter's Advantage podcast. We preserve the history and sport of hunting through curious conversation and action-packed hunts, as well as offering you tips and strategy for more successful hunts. The Hunter's Advantage podcast is powered by Out on a Limb Manufacturing. Out on a Limb is a family-owned company based right here in Oklahoma that makes tree stands, saddle platforms, climbing sticks, and so much more.
Christian, I have a quick question.
What's that?
What bites down harder, a hippo or an alligator?
No idea.
It's a trick question. The Ridge Runner 2.0 bites harder than both of them. But all jokes aside, we use these products all across the land on public or private. These help us get into any tree we want and hunt where the deer actually are.
Most men go to the grocery store for their meat, but these products help you go to God's grocery store. I have used the Out on a Limb Ridge Runner 2.0 and the Shakar sticks for the last few years hunting public land bucks, and I've actually shot several bucks out of this setup. If you want to support the podcast and get some Out on a Limb equipment, make sure to go to outonalimbmfg.com and use code HNTA10 for 10% off at checkout. Once again, if you want to support the podcast, go to outonalimbmfg.com and use code HNTA10 at checkout for 10% off. Now let's get back to the podcast. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Hunter's Advantage podcast. It is a beautiful Tuesday. How are you, Jake?
I'm Jake. I'm pretty good.
So we did go on a trip this last weekend. Well, everyone else was probably out scouting for big velvet bucks.
Wait, aren't you gonna introduce the guest?
Are they not on here yet?
Oh, wait, no, that's because we don't have a guest finally.
It's just us.
And we're finally doing it just us. Isn't that kind of weird?
It
feels weird right now.
It's probably been 6 weeks since we've done one of these. Well, while you guys were all out probably looking at big velvet bucks and bean fields and checking your trail cameras and filling up your feeders and doing all the cool stuff, we had to celebrate somebody else's a big event for somebody else, and it was Jake's bachelor party. So virtually clap for him. Get excited. Did you have a good bachelor party, Jake?
It was a good first bachelor party, yeah. I mean,
yeah,
it was pretty good for
good warm up.
As Peyton said, it's a good burner one.
Well, somebody brought COVID or something with them to the bachelor party because I am sick as a dog. And I've told people at work already, I'm like, hey, I know my face is puffy. I know I sound like I'm sick, but just disregard it. And they're like, oh, what did you do last weekend? And I'm like, oh, I was at a bachelor party. And they're like, oh, you're sick? And I'm like, no. I'm actually sick. Like, I'm not like I got drunk sick. I'm sick.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody believes you after you get home from a bachelor party.
Well, we were talking about this earlier, and I didn't realize it because I was a little iffy on Monday because we got back Sunday. I was a little iffy on Monday, like didn't feel the greatest. And I was like, it's probably just from the weekend. And then today rolled around and I was like, man, I'm still hitting the bathroom out the bottom end pretty frequently. And I was like, there's something else going on rather than just being dehydrated and stuff. And what you said kind of made sense for once. And it was after being strung out, like, waking up early, staying up late, and you do that for consecutive days, then you are, I guess, more susceptible to, catch like the flu and stuff like that. And so it made sense. I'm not a doctor by no means, but the bro science was all there.
Yeah, the casino is not the place to go if you want to test your immune system because everything from far and wide congregates on the casino. So no, I don't know. I haven't talked to anybody else and I haven't heard anybody else complain about getting sick, which is good. But for the small amount of folks that care about what we do that's apart from hunting, what did we do for your bachelor party?
We obviously went to the casino. Then we tried to do a little bit of trout fishing, like just one day, but that place was absolutely swamped at the time. And I guess there just wasn't any fish in there because I didn't catch a one. Carol
That's how you know there's no fish.
Exactly. And then other than that, we just golfed. And if you think we're bad at hunting, see us at golf because we are terrible.
Yeah. I don't even think there's anything that needs to be commented on that. I'm terrible at golf. People say, do you golf? I say I have clubs. I'm like, no, but do you golf? No, exactly. I have clubs. I wouldn't say that I golf. Yeah, it was a really fun weekend though.
How many balls did you lose just to put it out there?
The first day, we golfed 2 times. The first day, I probably lost over a dozen, and the second day, I think I lost 10, maybe. As the day progresses, you start losing more and more. There was a couple holes where I lose like 3, and I'm like, "Why, God? Why does this happen to me?"
Could have swore this went straight down the fairway, but it's nowhere to be found.
No, there was we were playing with 7 people, which is totally wrong for golf etiquette, we know, but this is like a bachelor party town, so it's to be expected, and we got 2 tee times. But there were several times where I hit one completely down the fairway and I could not find it. And then Hunter Kendall would throw me my ball. He was like, "Oh, I found this on the last hole." And I'm like, "I didn't lose one on the last hole. You picked up my ball. You dirty liar."
No, I bought 2 12-packs of the orange like nitros because I'm not going to buy any expensive balls. So the orange nitros, it's not going to make a difference whether it's a Titleist or a nitro. I'm not, like that extra foot is not going to help me. So I bought 2 12-packs of those, and I still had like 6 white ones that I just have acquired, and I have no more orange ones left. So if that says anything.
Hey, I think we're in the same boat. Let's talk a little bit about hunting.
Should we?
So this episode, we're just going to use this as kind of a catch-up episode of what's been going on, what we've been up to, what we've been thinking about. We got a little bit of Q&A we're going to do at the end. But I think the biggest problem at hand that people probably want an update on is summer velvet bucks. Jake, have you even got any of your Exodus cameras out? You have all these nice cameras with solar panels, all this good stuff. Have you even got any of them out?
Does that tell you anything?
That tells me everything I need to know.
No, so the one time I went to go set them out, it was like 2 weekends ago. I was like, "Come on, got to run through Walmart, got to get some batteries." Ran through there. They only had like one of the 8 packs of the lithium batteries and all of Walmart. So I was like, "Well, hell, I'll just order them on Amazon." Well, it took like 5 days to get here. I got everything I need now, but
you don't have Prime?
I don't have Prime. No.
You're kidding.
Abby might. I don't.
Dude, that's a mistake.
Well, anyways, so it took like 5 days to get here, and now the weekends have been fairly busy, so I just hadn't had time to put them out yet.
Well, I guess this summer we'll give you the pass because you are getting married and stuff. So this is your one pass.
There's that, but I'm also not like too much in a hurry to get them set out because that's all I need for the most part. I don't have to do much. I have to trim like there's one big like sapling in particular I have to cut down, but I can do that with a freaking handsaw if I need to. So like other than that, like I don't need to go in and weed eat and do all this stuff. I just gotta go switch out the feeder batteries and cut down that one tree and then fill the feeders and hang the cameras, and like that's really it. It sounded like a lot, but it wasn't. And so on another note, my main property that I'm going to be focusing on, at least for the private part side of it, it's they don't really summer there, which is fine with me. So it's almost like I don't really care. But I have another piece of private that I used to hunt in the past, but I hadn't in probably 4 or 5 years, and I'm gonna pick back up on it. And that could be a different story, but I'm wanting to shoot one on public and then one on private. So I'm not really too worried about it unless something just comes through that absolutely knocks my socks off when I do hang cameras out. So I'm not too worried about it right now, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you. I do love the Oklahoma as a $2 state for that exact reason that you just talked about. One on private, one on public is amazing.
Yes, and the private one's filled because like I obviously want to hunt where we hunting in Oklahoma on public just because the quality of deer, but also on private. Like I'm this will be year 3 of chasing that deer, so I'm hooked.
And yeah, you've told I think you've told the backstory of that deer several times on the podcast, but we were talking about this last weekend, like how it's most fun to chase a deer when you have like multiple years of history with one. And I've only had the longest saga, I guess you could call it, I've had with a deer is like 2 years, 2 seasons. And it's the one I shot the last year. What is it like going into year 3 of a saga when you don't know if the deer's alive or not?
Well, if I'm being totally transparent, I was trying to make it a 2-year saga as well. But last year the stars didn't align. But I'm almost confident he's still alive. But the thing is, the only downside of it is I'm not going to know he's alive until mid to late October, because that's the last 2 years. That's when he's been transitioning onto my property. So, I mean, with that being said, it's like, you know, I don't know. I don't know. It's nerve wracking, but at the same time, it's just like, what am I going to do? Because if I don't get him by November, then it's fair game to the next 3.5, 4.5-year-old deer I see. So
I don't blame you. We've had a couple. We had Warren from Raised Hunting out on the podcast like a few weeks ago, and we have had some awesome guests on recently. And so for once in our lives, we actually have a kind of a bankroll of podcasts that we've shot that we haven't put out yet. And so you might have seen, if people listen to hunting podcasts, Raised Hunting's really good. And they did an episode the other day where they mentioned us, where they were talking about, being on a place and shooting your biggest buck of your life at it being a 4.5-year-old and, not wanting to run relationships on the lease. And this is a long preambled way of talking about getting into the buck that I have on the 110 this year. Jake's being a bad influence and wants me to shoot this buck, but I just think he really needs one more year.
what do you think he's going to score?
So
I just want to pull it up real quick so I can give a good visual of it as well. That way we know 100% what we're talking about. Is it the most recent one you sent me?
Yeah. So this deer was, I'm pretty sure, a 3-year-old 8-point last year, and had a 5 or a 6-inch dagger point. You got the pictures?
I do.
Coming out of the base. It wasn't a split. It was another point coming out of the base that was like non-typical.
This one?
Yeah, that one. I can. Oh, nice. I'll throw the picture up though too. But this deer was probably a high 120s to a low 130s type deer last year. And so probably about 125-inch 8, and then put on this year 125-inch 8 with a sticker coming off the base and in that big kicker point. That big
man, he isn't that wide though.
He's not. He's probably 16 inches wide. This year, I don't want to like exaggerate, like, oh, he blew up, but he put on a significant amount of inches. He put on probably over 25 inches. And I think he's probably a low 50s type deer this year.
Is he a 10?
He is a 11. He is a mainframe 8-point, probably 16 inches wide, really good mass. And he has double like flyer points coming off his main beams in between his 2s and his 3s that come up towards the middle of his rack. And each one of those each one of those is at least 8 or 9 inches.
He has some pretty decent eye guards too.
He does have good eye guards. He's got decent time length, and he has probably a 3.5, 4-inch dagger point coming off the front. And so off the front, look at that side view picture of him.
That's not his ear?
No, that's a point.
Oh.
So his frame, I don't think is like something that would just knock your socks off. I think he's probably got a 130-inch frame, but he has close to 20 inches of extras. And I'm kind of torn on that deer. And I talked with Jake about it this weekend.
Airs?
Yeah. Probably the wrong person to talk about it with.
Yes.
But anyways, I was talking with him about it this weekend. What we kind of got into was like a deer with those kind of qualities that has the ability to throw extra points is rare. Like most deer are going to be 8s. Most deer are going to be 10s. Most deer with age might have a kicker or a sticker or something. But a deer that is throwing over 20 inches of extras is the type of deer that if he did grow into 140 or 150-inch frame, that he could be a 160s or a 170s because he has the ability to throw extras.
You want me to tell you what I think?
You think he should be dead if I see him?
No, actually, no, not that deer, because of, if I'm just being honest, if it doesn't have a wide frame, it doesn't like. I would rather shoot one with a wide frame than a narrow frame, and like you kind of shot one like this last year in a sense, like tight racked, multiple points, and all the points are good. You got good mass. Like you basically shot one like this last year, and I'm not saying to not shoot it, but I think people, and especially Warren from Race Hunting, kind of he. I do a horrible job explaining stuff sometimes, so I don't blame him. But it wasn't that I wanted you to shoot every nice looking 3.5-year-old. It was that because I completely understand like where Jake and them's coming from. They worked hard. They're throwing a lot of money in the surrounding area, trying to manage and get a good age class there, which you have. But my main thing is don't shoot a deer. It wasn't necessarily the young deer and the size. It was mainly don't just shoot the first mature deer you see.
Right.
That was mainly my argument for it.
And never pass the biggest deer you ever shot.
Yes, 100%. But here with that deer, I don't think that might be the biggest deer, but it ain't going to be by like a long shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that deer, what do you think would score? Like maybe 150s?
Jake seems to think like upper 40s. I think he's a little bit better than that.
I think like if I were to put score wise on him right now, I would say 146 because they always look bigger in velvet. That's my thing.
Yeah, they do always look better in velvet. I still think he's got a chance to touch 150.
Possibly, but I agree with letting that one it especially pass if he's 4.5. You know which one I would go after?
Which one's that?
As of right now, obviously there's more that's going to be showing up, but I like this guy.
Oh, that big 8.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it.
That is, if that deer was a 10, he'd be 150.
I like that deer. I would shoot this deer if they were both standing side by side, 25 yards away. I would shoot this deer over the other one. Just because of the presence. Yeah, dude. He has really good. I mean, not really good. He has good eye guards. He has, dude. The main beams are great. This picture was taken in 7/18. Yeah, it was. Yeah, like
so
mid-July.
Describe that deer for people that I'll throw the picture up, but describe that deer for people that are listening.
I mean, I suck at Asian body, especially there because I'm used to.
You can't. I only have 2 pictures of that deer.
Yeah.
And they're both from the front. I have no idea how old that deer is.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. But just, this is a hard angle to do it on because it's kind of like a frontward facing. So I have no clue. He just looks really wide. He looks really present. Like the present looks really good on it. And if I were to see that deer walk out, my first words would be, "Oh crap." And like we talked about, the bow would magically levitate in my hand. And would he be the highest scoring deer you have? No. But the thing is he might be a 4.5-year-old 8, and that would qualify as probably could potentially be your widest buck. And it's not like, like you or I have an abundant of those big framed deer anyways. So those are always going to be fun to shoot regardless. But with that being said, like, that also follows the rules of your lease. A 4.5-year-old 8 is good to shoot, correct?
Correct.
So that's the one I would shoot if they're both standing side by side.
Yeah, it's interesting because we had that conversation with Warren, which people are going to hear soon. But like, my goal this season was to shoot 150-inch deer, and now the first 135-inch deer that's 19 inches wide, probably. I don't want to throw those numbers around because it's a very wide deer. Comes out, it's like, well, shoot that one.
It's a really wide deer.
It's very wide, and I don't know on that. Like,
you know what I'd say? To hell with them both.
Shoot them both.
No, to hell with them both. Like,
what do you mean?
Don't even give them the time of day. If that's your goal, 150 incher, dude, we're not like they haven't even broke off velvet yet. Like some of them aren't even done growing yet, and we're already trying to pick out which one we're shooting.
Well, I'm not trying to pick out which one I'm shooting. I just know that the likelihood of that one, I know the 8's not going to be 150 inches. And I know the other one is likely going to be close, but I don't know if he's a mature buck. So I don't know. I there's part of me that wants to not compromise on my goals and be like, okay, that deer doesn't meet my goals. It's a different thing when they're standing in front of you. It's a very different thing.
I can see that.
When a close to 140-inch 8 sitting in front of you, that's huge frame, you're just like, ooh, you almost have to be like, I'll take a 150-incher or 140-inch 8.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, hopefully there's one that comes up that's like we know without a doubt it's over 150, and that way it'd be easier to pass. But that's the thing, and that's what because I listened to probably 30 minutes of the race hunting one before I had to turn it off, and I think it was the dad who said that.
Yeah, there was a part of me the other day that was like, for a good 2 hours, like I was genuinely anxious, where I was like, okay, I don't want this deer to come in front of me. If it's not a deer that I'm going to shoot, I don't want it to come in front of me. Like, because I don't know if I had the willpower to pass a mid 140 steer. Did you come back to you?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
He was talking about how it's easier to pass those smaller deer, or not smaller deer, like 140 probably will never be small, but it's easier to pass 140, 130, 140 class deer if you know there's a 160 out there.
Right. And I don't.
but just to, say it again, you haven't had good trail cam data past November 3rd or 4th on that property.
That's very true. And I don't want to get too overly analytical of it, because I think like it takes some of the fun out of it. But it is, yeah, there was a time, I have a piece about it now where I'm like, let's just let it simmer a little bit and like just focus on having a good fun season. Cause I have so much good opportunity. We have so much good opportunity on public. If I just need to set my goals and just stick to them, just like, these are my goals. If a buck comes by, these are my goals.
You know what you can do?
What's that?
What we could do, because I'm not going to give any specifics on whereabout we might be doing this, but we're trying to go pronghorn hunting this year.
Correct.
So we might have that in the bag. We also are going to focus pretty heavily on our public piece once again. So, there's, or Lord willing, there's going to be a few good deer to chase there. So what we could do, if there's nothing 150 caliber class there on your lease, is continually going down to our public piece, and then hunting that. And and just don't give it the time of day until something amazing shows up, or don't give it the time of day until after our Oklahoma public land rotation. And then you can go there and just not really base it on the cameras. You can base it on the actual rut. And I think your goal needs to be, if like just to help yourself, is don't hunt it until the rut, unless you have an absolute 150 there that you can pattern, because obviously everybody knows when the rut happens, all the patterns just go out the back. And so I think that would be the perfect solution for that, is stay busy hunting public, where the potential to shoot a good deer is there. Quality's there, quantity isn't, but that should keep you busy until at least the rut. And if something cool, 140 that you never seen before, runs through your lease, shoot it then. I say that's your trigger, because you already talked about how after like November 20th or something like that, you can't really hunt as often.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what you do if you can't pattern a really good one.
I agree. I think that's a good idea, and I don't want people listening being like, "Oh my God, you guys are spending a lot of time talking about shooting between a 130 and a 150. How privileged." Well, it's just kind of where we're at as far as it goes. Like, where we're at in our hunting journey. Like, I want to step up to another age or another class of deer, and It's somewhat hard to do because shooting deer through both lungs is about as beautiful as a sight as you possibly can ever see. And so that's the solution. Like, and I'm saying all this with, I haven't even got to check the 20 cameras that we have out on public yet. There might be a buck where I don't even care to step on private land this year. If I get a 170 plus on a camera on public land, it's going to be hard to set that away. I mean, there's been multiple years that we have legitimately not spent a single weekend hunting private in October to hunt public land. And even though there were a couple times in there where we went 11 plus sits without ever seeing a deer, it was still fun because we knew we were chasing something special.
I'll chase quality over quantity any day. Like if I want to go see a lot of deer, you go set a bean field in Kansas, even on public land, early season or late season, you'll see quantity. Will there be quality? It's Kansas, so pretty good chance, I guess. But no, I would say do that. Yeah.
I want to shoot. I want to see what we got on public.
There was something else I was going to say, dadgum, and I forgot. It's my mind's everywhere today. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It was a good point, though. I remember that.
Well, I hope that everybody else is getting really good pictures on their whether it's on public or private this summer as they're out soaking. We have like 20 cameras soaking on public land since when? Over a month ago now?
Late June. So like the weekend before the 4th of July is when we went and set them out there. And also talking about the privilege thing, because I know there's haters in every family tree.
Yeah, like, haters in the branches.
Exactly. Well, I have one deer that I'm after on private. And other than that, like it's fair game. I have one big deer. I'm not going to specify or anything. I have one big deer, but other than that, it's like 130s. And so if this deer, like this is the only deer over like, I think 150 that I'll have on camera unless something crazy happens.
Mm-hmm.
But so with that being said, like there ain't, I'm with everybody else. Let me tell you, I'm just fortunate this season.
We're on your team. Yeah. I think we're at that. I listened to Chasing Giants yesterday with Don and Terry, and they were like, this is not the time of the year to be picking out the bucks that you're going to shoot. This is the time of year to be picking out the bucks that you should be passing. And I was just, when I saw that 8 that's going to be close to 150. And I know he's a 4.5-year-old deer. I'm pretty sure. I'm just like, before I go in there, I need to decide, am I shooting this deer or not? Because if I see him, and I'm going to make a decision, it's going to be yes. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I need to make a decision beforehand.
Yeah, I would not shoot that deer because especially after what Jake said, like that's pretty true. Like that's a funky racked deer already as it is. And so you give them one more year, like something crazy could happen. Yeah,
a deer like that does not come around every day.
Have you did any like analytical data, like sorting them out and stuff on which ones have been there from the previous season and like which ones actually summer there and which ones live there like year round?
Well, the issue is we killed the two main ones in there but yes, the one that I shot last year was a very consistent buck in the summer all the way into the fall, and I ended up killing him. So from year to year, there's not as many as I try to identify them. I think there's 2 or 3 from last year. And they were pretty homebodies. Like last fall, those couple that I'm talking about were homebodies on the place. So one of them is that 11 point that is very consistent. It hangs out with that 8 with the splits. That probably with 30s type deer. He was consistent in there last year. And then there's a couple other ones, but nothing that'll just knock your socks off that's been consistent.
So what is your mindset going into August? Because obviously time has not been in our favor here lately where we could go check the cameras we want to down on public.
Mm-hmm.
But what's your goal for our August camera check?
Oh my gosh. We've got around 20 cameras out, and we'll even set some more out depending on if we find something special.
Not many, like 4 or 5 more.
Yeah, that's 20% more, 25% more. That's good.
Screw in your mathematics.
Yeah, your math. I think my goal is to just. I think my goal is fairly simple. It's probably what most people's goal is just to find something worth chasing. Like we've talked about character versus age versus size. Any of those things get me going. It could be a 7.5-year-old deer that has 100 inches of rack, but he's just freaking huge body, or something with crazy not drop times, but drop beams, or, maybe just a giant, just something that gets me excited. I'm kind of like you, where like I'm not this way on private, but on public, when I find a deer that I want to chase, it's like I want to find that sucker. Like I want to. It's probably the challenge of like trying to predict where that buck is going to be. That's a lot of the fun in it. And so my goal for the August when we check them is just to find something worth chasing. And honestly, something really big would be awesome. I feel like we're at this point in our public land hunting where like we have started to figure something out about the places that we're hunting. And I feel like you can only do that in years 3, 4, 5, 6 of hunting a place over and over. And so just like we said in the video that we dropped on our YouTube channel, is like, I really think we can find the potential of this place this year. I think we can find a deer that's 170 inches or better. And well, if we do, I'm going for him.
Yes. And I think that's what everybody needs to do, or everybody doesn't need to do this. Like you can hunt your own way, but for people saying that, like, because that's kind of what we do, is we look for the biggest one. And then if we think we can kill the biggest one, which years past, if we get them on camera, more than likely we can see them on the hoof. We've had a lot of deer on camera that we have all seen on the hoof. We had my big one, your big one, Peyton shot at the big 7, which we had him on camera. I think back in, this was years ago, that 13 point or 12 point or whatever on. Yep. And yeah, so we had that one. I'm trying not to say any like names and specifics. I about dropped it, but but some people might say, hey, you don't need to put all your eggs in one basket. Why put all your resources and time and efforts into this one deer? Like that seems like kind of a waste of time, and seems like you're going to be disappointed. Well, you might be for that one deer. Like you may never run into that one you're after. But the thing is what we found is, while searching for that one giant, more than likely, if the giant doesn't live in that area where you think he first lives in or something, you're going to run into other deer that actually live where you're looking. And basically what I'm trying to say is, while searching for the big one, the chances of you running into a slightly smaller one that you'd still be happy with are fairly good. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And that's kind of the theme of like holding your goals on public loosely. Like unless you're after like a 200-inch deer or 190-inch deer, one where you're like, nothing below this is going to make me happy. Like you can be out hunting the giant, and a 140-inch buck runs by and you're like, I'll take it. So I would love to shoot that buck.
Let me put you in a predicament.
All right.
Let's say you filled one tag.
I love hypotheticals.
Let's say you filled one tag on private.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say it's 150. Let's say you filled 150 on the dot on private.
Gosh, I'm a monster.
Let's say on public, we have a pretty consistent picturage of a 175.
Okay.
You're hunting it. It's the rutcation. It's day 2. You still have some time. And a 145 walks out. What are you doing?
Well, if my bow starts to levitate in my hand, it's getting shot.
With that 175 on the hoof. Like potentially being out there.
Man.
Because in the words of Bobby Worthington, we haven't had him on the podcast yet, but we want to. You're just as likely to kill that giant on day 1 as you are day 7.
Yeah, that's a good point. I just think I haven't shot a 145 on public yet. So thank God I have 2 buddies that can go after that buck after I deflate this 145 incher.
Okay, so
that's also the scenario where, as if you shoot that buck and then your buddy ends up shooting the 175, you smile just as hard with your arm around him as you're holding 2 giants. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're like, congrats, buddy. I'm glad you pulled it off. But we both The whole family's eating tonight.
Yeah. So how big would it take you to not shoot that 140?
Oh, I see. I think 180 plus.
You think so?
Yeah, like
Well, what's the difference between a 175 and a 180?
I don't know. I've never seen one. Couldn't tell you. No, yeah. I think a 170 is a world class deer, no matter where you go. I think that's why Boone and Crockett is 170, but all time book. So I think 170 plus is a type of deer worth devoting most of your season towards. And I think if we had a deer like that, it would be very hard to hunt anywhere else. Even if we had 125s or 130s or heck, even maybe some 140s like on private, for me as someone who has to travel to hunt regardless, it'd be very hard for me to not hunt 180-inch deer on public. I feel like that it would just entrance me. I'd be having him as my screensaver and all that other stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It'd be very hard not to.
I've been using the new Exodus Rival cell camera for the last couple months, and I have found a beautiful mainframe 8-point with tons of stickers to go after this fall.
Ooh.
One thing I do appreciate about Exodus trail cameras is all of the cameras share the same data plan, so you only pay for what you need. A lot of cell cam companies charge you for HD pictures. I've seen prices of $5 for 50 HD pics. Exodus is going to give you unlimited HD pictures right to your phone, which is awesome when you're sitting there in the middle of the summer and it's 100 degrees and you just want to binge a bunch of trail cam photos.
If you're looking for a solid cell camera with great performance and a 5-year no BS warranty, go check them out. So as we all know, hunting gear is something people can make way too complicated. Arrows can be the exact same way. Instead of going down all those rabbit holes trying to sift through the endless information that's online and you're not really sure if it's right or wrong, Exodus makes it simple to get the right arrow for your exact setup.
So go online to the Exodus Arrow Builder. It takes less than a minute. You're going to enter your draw weight, your draw length, and how heavy of a point you're shooting. And it's going to be that simple. Let the guys at Exodus take care of the rest.
So if you're interested in Exodus Rival cell cameras or a new set of their MMT arrows, just go to exodusoutdoorgear.com and use code HA15 for 15% off anything on their website.
Once again, that is exodusoutdoorgear.com. Use code HA15 at checkout for 15% off. Now let's get back to the podcast.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I would probably have to pull it on the 145.
How could you not?
People who say they wouldn't must be from the Midwest or something.
Yeah. Pick on our Midwest brethren.
No, and that's really not a knock or anything. That's just they're just less common. Like a 145 on public is like pretty rare in Oklahoma, at least.
145 anywhere is I think in Oklahoma is rare. Public, private, like
yeah.
Heck, even you go to Kansas. We went to Kansas last year. I thought, man, there's gonna be a 150 behind every tree. Like we ran over a dozen trail cameras. I don't think we ever got a buck over 150.
Not over 150. So that lake spot where I was trying to set on the ground and I bumped one and then bumped that one. What do you think that one scored? And it ran to you.
He kind of had a weak
footage of it.
He had one side that was really, really good, and the other side was a little weaker. He's probably like a
137.
Like a low high 30s, low 40s type deer. I put him in the 37 to like 42 category, something in there. He was like a big 9, I think.
He was pretty
or
tall.
10.
Like not.
Really
I don't even mean time wise. I just mean like his main beams like kind of
had a good frame.
Pretty tall. Yeah,
he looked really good.
He looked sexy. Dadgum. I'm ready. I'm ready to check cameras, dude.
I am too. I'm ready to. I don't know. Like we go down there and we pull our cameras and like we obviously reset them in areas that are, we think are going to be more of like a fall pattern just historically based on like topography and stuff. But I'm not even looking forward to like setting the cameras up in different spots. All I want to see is what's there. Mm-hmm. I just want to see what's there and I want to hunt. I could really because I feel like checking cameras in the season can be almost more of a hindrance than it gives you any information. You're already hunting the deer. You already know he's typically in here. Obviously, getting a picture of him again is nice for confirmation that he's alive, but I don't know. There's part of me that wants to get all those pictures and be like, sweet, now we're just going to hunt. but we'll obviously set them out in different places.
So when we go to check them the next time, we're going to check them. So what we do, just a little brief overview of how we set up the cameras, is I don't know if this is trademarked or what, but we call it the funnel method. Whether that's been used before or not, great. But we cast a wide net, broad net into different areas, whether that be old 2-tracks, old abandoned roads, crossings, little water holes, what it may be, wherever you think deer are going to use the most frequently while the pressure's low, like a human intrusion's low, at least before, late summer hits, and Tweedledee and Tweedledum is just now going out there and setting out cameras a month before season or whatnot. You're not going to get, hell, you might, but chances are you're not going to get the really good pictures where they're all still bachelored up and all that stuff just in September if your season opens in October, just from the human intrusion. And so that's what we do. We cast a broad net, throw cameras out on the locations I just named, and then we wait 4 to 6 weeks, come back, check them. And then funnel method, what's a funnel do when you pour oil in your truck?
Gets smaller and smaller.
Gets smaller as the time goes. And so that's what we try to do with the cameras. We find an area we like or a buck we like. We try to pinch down, throw the bad cameras that didn't produce in the same area as the one cameras that did produce, just in different spots, whether that be where we think the bedding is, whether it's a cool crossing, cool little drainage. And we just keep doing that, rinse and repeat until you're going in there to hunt it and hopefully deflate a big O buck.
Well, it's good, and I feel like it's something that a guy who has 30 cameras and a guy who has 5 cameras can do. And if I had 5 cameras in the summer, I'd be putting them in 5 different spots, and I'd be like,
"Ooh, that is a good thing to talk about." Actually,
I'm trying to find as much intel as I can, because legitimately, one picture can change your entire season. You catch one picture of a buck that you want to go after, whether it's world class or whether it's just a really nice buck, you've never shot anything nice, and it's just one you want to go after. One camera and one picture can change your entire season, and it has changed your season in 2020. It did. One random camera, one random picture changed the entire course of the season. And fast forward 60 days, you're holding over 160-inch buck. That's what a funnel and a camera casting a wider net can do for you in the summer.
So that's what you would do if you had 5 cameras instead of 20.
If I had 5 cameras, I would do the exact same thing we're doing, but I would have 5 areas, and I'd put 1 camera in each area.
Dude, that's so difficult. Like, and it might not be difficult. What I'm saying is that would eat at me, because we have about 25 cameras right now. And on some areas, which again, this is built from experience, and you're going to have to do the same thing, whether you have 5 or 25 cameras. That's why it kind of works in the way we do it. But obviously more cameras help when you try to see what's in the area. But if you just have, one camera in each, like 2-track or crossing or whatever, that doesn't really paint that good of a picture what's actually in the area. So you could be skipping out on a good area, but they just didn't walk by that. Now, granted, that could differ. That could differ from parts of the country where you hunt, like Kansas. If you go to Kansas or one of the Midwest states where timber is somewhat more of a limited resource, rather than, like, let's say you hunt Arkansas or something where you have all those big thick pines and everything's monotonous, where actually bedding and the tall grass, the overgrown clear cuts are the limited resource. That could look different with those 5 cameras, because you can kind of see, at least where we went in Kansas, on some of the weehaws or wahis, whatever the hell you call them.
Weehaws.
They have no cattle on them, but it also looked like a cattle trail from the deer walking. And so obviously that's a no-brainer. Set it there. But then again, everybody else that's trying to do the same thing, that's where they're going to set it too. And so the pressure, it might mix up. Obviously there's hundreds of different variables, because the pressure is different with each of those, when especially scouting wise. But I don't know, it would just be super tough with 5 where we hunt, at least.
It would be, but you do what you can with what you have. And
That's
if you might have 2 cameras. I'd rather have 2 than none, there's no guarantee. Like it's kind of a depth versus width question. We have enough cameras so we can go wide and deep. Like we can go to several different areas and we can hit them really, really well. And you might have an area that is a smaller public piece. It might be a couple 100 acres or something. If you have 5 cameras and you put them up on a couple 100 acres, you're going to have a really good idea of what's going on. Every situation is a little bit different, but that's just what's worked for us. We can only speak to what's worked for us. Like, I just like having as many lines in the water as I can. And for $30 a pop for those cameras, it's a lot cheaper to run 5 more of those and wait longer than it is to fill up a tank of gas. So that's just what we've done and what works for us. If you have a piece of public closer to your house or something, it might make more sense to, just put them all out and go check them 3 or 4 weeks later and move them around. But we don't really have that luxury.
No, that's a good point. So, you got anything else on the camera checks and all that?
Nope. We got all our cameras out. Thank the Lord. I'm ready to go check them.
This is something I've been wanting to ask you, and I've been waiting until we get on this podcast to ask. How's the recurve going?
Oh man!
Because for people who didn't know, you drew out for a pretty good recurve only hunt here in Oklahoma, and you nervous about it at all?
To be honest with you, I haven't really thought a whole lot about it. The last 4 or 5 days, my head's feel like the ocean and jellyfish have been swimming around in it. So I haven't had any coherent thoughts. But previous to getting sick and going on the bachelor party, I was shooting it every single day, and I feel pretty good about it. I've watched Clay Hayes quite a bit. I've watched several different other people on how to shoot it correctly. We just talked to Joel Turner, had him on the podcast. He's a beast at shooting a recurve. So I feel like I'm getting there, but I would it'd be the same. The way I would make it an equivalent would be like, it'd be like the first year I ever hunted with a bow. I think I can get it done, but I don't know. I don't have enough, I don't have enough experience to know exactly where to aim or know how they're going to react. Or I wish I had more reps going into a hunt of like this caliber with this kind of, magnitude of deer, but it is what it is. I'm excited for it, and I'm excited because I really enjoy shooting the recurve, and I'm hoping that I get to shoot something with the recurve before the hunt, because that would make me feel a lot better about it. Like,
are you going to try to?
I'm going to try to. Yeah.
We're at on your lease at does or
at a doe, or I'm going to try to shoot a pig maybe this next weekend. With our buddy Cole. I mean, any target that I can shoot, I'm going to try to shoot with my recurve just to get that. Not muscle memory, just to get that experience, because I legitimately have no expectations. I mean, I know it's going to be hard, but I just don't want my first mess up or my first experience to be like, oh, there's a 180-inch deer standing right there. I hope this goes well, because I know that I'm probably not going to rise to the occasion. I'm going to rise to like my practice, and so you can only practice so much on a bag. I feel like I'm ready to shoot at something.
Have you tinkered with your arrows at all? Did you get new arrows, or did you just cut the ones down?
No, my uncle has some, and then Jordan gave me some. Thankfully, Jordan's a little bit better or longer of a draw length, and so he has some different arrows. And what I'm planning on doing is just taking those set up and putting a 200 grain broadhead up front, and so that'll bring those arrows to like 560, I think, or 580, something around in there. And just kind of see how that flies. Like, I feel like I'm putting a lot of torque on the string, and so some arrows fly off completely straight, and then some I move my fingers differently, and they like come off a little sideways. And it's kind of like when you're shooting a bow, and when you're just starting, you're like, I don't know how much of that is this bow being out of tune, or I just suck at shooting it.
As of now, I would say it's you, and that's not being mean. I would just say that's you.
I know a lot of it's me. But I don't know what to do to fix it. It's just making these micro adjustments over a long period of time, and I just don't have enough experience.
I think for now it's kind of like golf, right? Like you want to hit the ball far and hard, and your swing isn't going to be consistent every single time, even though it should be. But as long as it works, I think as of now, I think that's what you need to do. As long as I think for this go round, I think you need to do, which I might get absolutely ate up. Like, no, it's harder to correct mistakes, after you've already learned something rather than just trying to do it correctly.
And that's definitely true, but
it is. But I would just say, like, just because in all honesty, like, we're kind of running out of time here, I think. And so that's just where I'm at with it. I would just try to get consistent with it, and even if it's wrong form or whatever, just try to get consistent with it. This is horrible. This is like taking financial advice from me. Probably not a good idea.
Well, we have like 90 days to the hunt. Literally, like, the hunt is like 90 days on the dot from now. And when I get 45 days out or something, I'm not going to change anything about my shooting. When I get to season, it's going to be what it is. I hope that I can build up enough of an experience pool to draw from, because I know what it's like to be staring down at a really big buck and being like, okay, I got to execute this shot. I don't know what it's like to be holding legitimately a stick with a string on it and being like, okay, you got to execute the shot.
So how do you aim with that thing? Have you practiced from 20, 30, 40, or like 40-yard shot completely out of the question?
The furthest I've shot it is 25. And 25 feels like about 60 or 70 with a compound. It's like, that's a poke.
Yeah. Well, we were shooting at 13 whenever we were scouting, and I missed the bag like 8 times. So
yeah, I think most of the time when I'm shooting it, I shoot it from in between 10 and like 20 yards. That's the most. I try to start closer and just be able to just hit pretty consistently. But I've watched several videos. Joel was talking about like creating a point on your string where you anchor every single time, because unlike a release, you're actually grabbing the string. So you need to be grabbing the string at the same up and down every single time.
Can you not use a release for that, or no?
I don't think so. You can't use anything mechanical on the draw hunt.
Oh, really?
Nothing. No sight, no rest, no release, nothing. And so I'm trying to figure those things out. And what's interesting about it is where you grip it is going to change the sight picture. The sight picture is you looking down the arrow. So if I'm looking down the arrow and I'm anchoring a little lower, I might be looking too high. But if I'm anchoring too high, I might not have my eye above the arrow to look down it as a point of reference. And so trying to find that point is, I feel like, something I do a little different every single time, where like the sight picture looks a little different. Like I'm not looking directly down the arrow. What I've had the most success with is drawing back, anchoring with my middle finger in the corner of my mouth, having a good, maybe a 1/4 inch below the nock, and then looking legitimately directly down the arrow. And if I execute the shot the right way, it tends to go in the right spot. But I just need to shoot something with it. So I feel like I'm to the point now where I can shoot something with it at 10, 15 yards.
Do you aim with the front of the head? Is that what you said?
I just look down the arrow. I don't know if that's the front of the head or what.
Because, well, my thinking is, let's say, because on that hunt, this sounds unethical as crap, but take it as you will. I would say 30 yards. Anything under 30 yards, I would fling an arrow at.
Yeah, and 30 is an absolute, that's a poke.
Yes. But with that being said, I mean, I guess you said you shoot at like 25, so like a 5-yard difference. I mean, with the recurve, it might as well be a 20-yard difference. But my thing is like, do you kind of understand like how much to hold it up, like over the animal?
I do at 25 yards, but not really. Not really. I'd like to go spit. What Joel was talking about was having different knock points. So like,
yeah,
like your, yeah. So I'm trying to figure that kind of stuff out. I'm just trying to get like a baseline level of proficiency at like 10 to 15 to 20 yards. And then, we're also talking about a completely different game. In 90 days, if I devote myself to shooting like I want to be doing and like I should be doing when I'm not ill, I might have a way better sense of like shooting it at 25 or 30 yards. Today, no, I don't feel good at 30 yards. I don't feel good at 25 yards. 15 and in though, I'm like, I feel pretty good. Like I'm not going to completely miss it.
Have you shot it from a tree yet or an elevated surface?
No. Mm-mm.
Are you going to try to do that?
I'm gonna
because
have
I
to.
know with the compound, like that kind of throws me off sometimes too. Like, you shoot all summer, like basically you're looking at the target ground level, and then all of a sudden you just get up in a tree, whether that be freaking, I don't know, like 10 feet, and all of a sudden it's just like, well, this feels a little different. And so I couldn't imagine with the stick and string.
Well, and the thing about it is too is where we're hunting is a lot of mesquites, and so it's hard. These trees aren't like, they're more like shrubby than so a lot of folks that I have talked to that have hunted this area for recurve is 8 or 10 foot off the ground is a good bit off the ground and enough. So I don't plan on getting up 20-25 feet. One, because I'm just putting more distance in between me and the deer with the arrow. And with a recurve, I feel like I need all the speed I can get. I don't want to put another 15 feet between us. So I'd like to be shooting as low off the ground as I can. And so that's kind of my plan is to shoot that way and try to get like fairly like not very high off the ground. But I think shooting a pig, shooting at a doe, not that those animals are any less valuable, but the stakes are a little lower, would help me quite a bit. And I'm not going to just go out there and start slinging for the sake of slinging, but if I can get a good shot that I can practice and take something out, that would be the best case scenario. And that's what I'm going to try to do.
Well, that's pretty cool though, because you're basically having that first archery experience, kind of like you did with the compound, or at least the way you're describing it, that kind of, it makes me have horrible flashbacks of when I first started using a compound. That's basically what you have to do though, whether people like it or not. You kind of just have to shoot. Like you gotta attempt to kill something before you can actually kill something. So there's been a lot of horror stories growing up that I've had, that you've had, and I'm sure a lot of people listening has had. But that's the thing. That's just kind of part of it, as bad as it sounds.
Yeah, it's not fun to think about it that way. But there's a guy at my jiu-jitsu gym that he's like, hey, I've been practicing archery for 3 or 4 years and I haven't went out hunting yet. And I'm like, why? He said, well, I don't feel like I'm good enough to go hunting yet. And I'm like, well, to be honest with you, you can't really learn how to hunt shooting a target.
100%.
Like, you just, everything, like we've talked about, you talked about it with Joel the other day when we were talking about it on the podcast. You were like, well, these situations where the deer are nervous, or one's stomping its foot, one's at 35 yards, one's at 25 yards, one's got their head up, one's got their head down, one looks like it's about to bolt, one's not, one's locked on you, one's not. Reading the room and understanding in this situation, I should probably aim 3 or 4 inches lower. You don't learn that by sitting at home. You don't learn it by shooting a bag. Well, if you can shoot semi-accurately, you should go try.
That's the thing. Like, trust me, the shot is probably the most important thing you could practice. But the thing is like, you're not going to be able to pull the shot off if you never get an opportunity. So that's only 10% of it, I think. Like if I was to put a percentage on, I would say the shot's like 10% of the actual battle.
Yeah, it's yeah. So I'm going to try to get to a baseline of, and I think I'm at that baseline of like, I'm not unethical by trying to shoot with a recurve. Like I wouldn't have shot at something the first week and been like, I can kill something, because I couldn't have. A month ago, I couldn't have killed anything. I really don't think so. Today, I feel like I can.
Well, I think you just need to shoot and not worry about it. I mean, granted, try to do everything right, like the broadside. Like obviously, you're not going to go out there and be like, I won't try to hit in the head, or do the old Texas heart shot. Like you're not going to try to do that. But I mean, just shoot, and whatever happens, happens. I mean, God gave us dominion over it. It's not like, if people want to complain, there's unlimited things to complain about. So let them have it.
Yeah, that's true. I might give him a couple more bullets to load in the clip at us, but so be it. We're gonna try. Do you want to hit some Q&A?
So before that, or I guess we can kind of throw this on Q&A. We've had messages lately about arrow setups, and one individual actually had your same exact arrow set up. So you just want to, for everybody else who maybe hadn't sent a message yet that has been thinking about it, would you mind telling them your arrow setup, your bow setup, the specs on it, what weight you're shooting, what broadhead, stuff like that?
Mm-hmm. Sure. I'm shooting the same bow that I've shot the last 3 years. It's a Prime Nexus 4, 34-inch axle to axle. I shoot a Exodus MMT arrow. I think it's a 29.5 or 30 inches. It's with a Luminoc.
You're shooting the 250s though, not the 300s.
Yep, 250 spine. With a Luminoc, that arrow is Luminoc and 125 grand head. That arrow is around 545. I want to move up to a bigger head this year. I'd like to be shooting a 150 or a 175 or a 200, depending on what flies good out of my bow. But that is my setup, and I've had really, really good success blowing through stuff like that. I haven't shot through any shoulders or anything like that, but I've had really, really good success with that. And I lost about 24 of those arrows at Total Archery Challenge, so that doesn't help. But so that's my gear. What's your setup?
Matthews V3. I'm shooting the 300 MMTs rather than the 250s.
Weak.
I know.
Oh, I shoot 70 pounds, by the way. I didn't say that. 30-inch draw.
Oh, yeah? Well, that's cute. I shoot 74, so.
Nice. How's your shoulder feeling?
It pops every now and then, but other than that, it's fine. So, you know something very, pretty embarrassing?
No. Yeah.
The other day, because since we talked to the ranch fairy, I've been on this kick about shooting an adult arrow. And so I bought a scale, and I bought some, I think I got it right here. Yeah. I bought some 200 grain field tips.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just playing around with the scale. I was weighing different things. And the field points I was practicing with, they were actually 100 grains.
Mm-hmm.
So I was using practice tips for 100 grains. And then I was shooting, I think, 125.
I think your Grim Reapers are 100s.
I think they're 125s. I can look. I think I bought them on Amazon, so I can look, but it doesn't matter because I think the lowest I'm going to shoot this year would be 150s. I'm really wanting to shoot 200. I really want to shoot 200s just to try out. Especially after talking with the ranch fairy, I almost want to aim for a shoulder just to see if it works. It sounds bad. I'm not going to do it, but I was hugging the shoulder on my shot. I have a problem with that. So if it hits the shoulder, especially on a doe, I'm not going to be too upset just for scientific reasons.
Mm-hmm. Research.
But yeah, other than that, don't know what broadhead I'm shooting yet this year, but I know that's about what type of about the weight, at least I should say. And then for saddle, what are the cruiser
XCs?
XCs, yes. I never can remember the last two letters.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then I still got the old podium from Out on a Limb. That's what I'm rocking, and then obviously the Shikar sticks. So
that's right. Well, I mean, it's that time of the year where it's getting kind of crunch time, where it's literally going to be hunting season soon. So if you guys do need saddle platforms or sticks or camera arms or anything like that, I know we say it every single week, but it's the time to be stocking up on that stuff and making sure you got that out of the way so you can go scout and other stuff. But if you do want all those things I just listed, we do have a code for you guys so you can save a few bucks and support an Oklahoma-based company with Out on a Limb. And the code is HNTA10. Use that at checkout at outonalimbmfg.com, and that'll save you 10% off. And then I know we were also talking about the arrows. I like the Exodus Arrow Builder. I haven't used it just because I've sent them my own specs every single time, but I've been in there several times and it's super easy. And I've had several buddies that have used it, and it kind of takes the ability to mess things up out of the equation. Like you and I were just talking about, you literally just enter your specs and it's right there. So
yeah,
if you need some arrows and you want them custom built, not go and buy them at a Bass Pro and they're the wrong length and you don't know crap about putting your inserts in or the fletchings or any of that stuff, you can leave the work to Exodus. And if you want to use our code there, it's HA15 for 15% off. And we do have we've got the full code for the trail cameras and stuff. So you need to really get your trail cams out. So
it should
you
be
can talk about those.
you can use that code for it. I'm pretty sure. But on the arrow builder, I think all you got to type in is your draw length, your draw weight, and then I think there's no. Your draw length, your draw weight, and I think just the weight of your broadhead. I'm pretty sure it's the only thing you have to do.
There's not much.
It's pretty simple. If we can do it, you can do it too.
That's right. Trust me, it's idiot proof. We've looked at it, but
tested it out.
Yeah, go check that out. And I've been using their rival, their cell cam, for the whole summer. And if you guys want to see some good pictures, high speed pictures, dude, I got a picture of a hawk out of that thing mid flight. It's probably one of the most badass pictures I've got on a trail camera before. The trigger speed on it is non-deer related. The trigger speed on it is nuts. And if you guys ever, I'm skeptical on everything. Somebody tells me something, I'm like, oh, BS. I'll see that for myself. If you want to see some pictures of some bucks and the trigger speed or videos, just shoot us a message. We're trying to shoot you guys straight. They're really good cameras. I've had 3 of them out for about almost 2 months, and not a single one of them is less than 100% battery. And one of them is running just on batteries.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
That's nice.
So you can use HA15 at checkout for Exodus, and it's the best time of the year to get this stuff done, boys.
All right. So now that we got all that out of the way, you ready to hop into some Q&A?
I am. Let's do it.
All right. Well, Abby just now, she's getting her toes done right now, and she literally just now commented on it.
on the TikTok?
Yeah,
that's funny.
She said, "What y'all?" Oh, no. Abby didn't say this. This is from Jet Outdoors. What y'all's thought on dialed archery sights?
First of all, I love Jet Outdoors page. Like,
is he that I don't want to call him a little kid, but he's like 14 or 15, looks like.
Yeah, and he like does like fishing reviews, like hunting stuff. He makes some funny. Yeah, I always like his stuff. Dialed, I feel like there's a lot of really premium archery companies coming out in the last couple of years, whether it's UltraView or Dialed or some of the other ones. I haven't personally used them, but they look awesome. I use an HHA sight. I'm shooting the same sight from the last 6 years. I'm shooting the same bow from the last 3 years. I'm kind of if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of guy. I'm sure there's something better out there, but it's not a priority for me to spend $250 or $300 on a sight right now. So I wouldn't know, but they look awesome.
Yeah, I honestly don't know anything about dialed archery. I shoot a Spot Hog Fast Eddie XL, the 3-pin, and so yeah, if I'm being completely honest, I know nothing about those sights.
All right. Question number 2 comes from Basement Decorator. Just had him on the podcast a few weeks ago. He said, if you absolutely had to come home with a deer because you needed the meat to feed people you care about, who would you send on the hunt? And he said, Jake or Christian. And Pat Lane commented on it and said, before my family goes hungry, I'll jump the fence. Pat, that had nothing to do with his question, but I respect it. All right, putting you on the spot, Jake. You're going first. If you had to send me or you, the tribe is just
for meat. I would send you just because I don't have access to your lease.
No, not like that. We're not talking about who has the best spotter. Mark Drury would be on the short list. Big and a lot of meat, like just public land. Everybody can hunt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, nothing to do with freaking people's access. Or I know who I'd be robbing.
This would be a random piece of public, correct?
Yeah.
Because I would say all you had to do is go into the community center and you could feed a village. But dude, I'm sorry, but that's just the type of guy I am. I'm gonna have to say me.
You have to bet on yourself.
What would you do? And I know damn well what you're gonna say.
I'm not betting against myself.
No.
I'm also not. I feel like there's enough beta males in this country. I'm not going to be like, Jake, go kill something, bring it back.
Yeah, boo, slay.
Yeah, I'm not going to count on another man
to
feed my family. I like to think that if it came down to that, I'd be into a different type of predator mode, and I'd be killing. I've been watching Alone quite a bit, and we were talking about that before the podcast, but I like these guys that are shooting at like grouse and squirrels and crap. I'm like, dude, they're shooting at a squirrel 20 foot in the air, like risking an arrow for it. Like that takes some stones to do that.
Yeah.
I like to think that I'd rise to the occasion on that sort of thing, but I don't know any guy that hunts that's going to bet on someone that's not himself. Maybe if I was like you or Remy Warren, I'd be like, go Remy, but not when you compare it to a buddy.
Yeah. But we'll let you all decide who you think. I'm just saying last
We all
year was
know
a
the
fluke.
answer.
Okay. I didn't kill one last year. That was a fluke. Okay. Anyways, next question. Blue River bow hunting. What's the number one mistake you think guys make during summer off season?
Oh my gosh. That's an interesting one. Sitting at home, drinking too much beer and watching too many UFC fights, not going scouting. No, realistically, I think the biggest mistake that people make is they wait till the summer to do their scouting, and they're putting a lot of pressure on places that they're hunting. Like,
What do you mean? What do you mean the summer? Break that down.
Summer, like I would say June and on, or maybe even July and on. It's like, oh, hey, honey, deer season's 90 days away. I need to get out there and start getting everything done, hang my stands and looking for deer, walking through this bed. Like, I just think people do too much of their big buck work, whatever you want to call it, too close to season. We're sitting here in the later part of July, and like Jake said, he still doesn't have some of his cameras out, but for the most part, we have 95% of the stuff that we want to get done. It's already.
I just want to defend myself for a second, and I think I already did this on the beginning of the podcast, but I forgot. Like I said, my property is not a summer place. I've hunted that property for 7 years, maybe. I know that piece in and out. I already know where I'm going to sit. I know where the food's going to go. I know where the cameras are going to go. And I have a really good idea of where I'm going to run an arrow through my target buck if he's still alive. So that's the reason I'm not too worried about throwing cameras and all that stuff on that piece right now, because I have experience with that spot. Now you could say, oh, I have experience with public. Public's completely different. And if it's a big piece of public, that crap changes year to year. And it truly does. There could be a nice clear cut. They might burn 3 or 4 years later. That place might be grown up and it's not what it was a year or two after the burn or after the clear cut.
Mm-hmm.
And plus you throw human intrusion in there. Some people might have hunted it frequently. That is an out-of-stater or something. And they might have spooked every buck out of the county. But in 2 or 3 years, or hell, probably 2 years, if that guy blew it all out and he's like, oh, there's no deer here, sooner or later, those bucks will migrate back into that spot. So that's why we focus a lot of our energy on public, is because as of now, that's what needs the most energy, is our public piece. And we already got all that taken care of. So I agree with you on that sense, though.
Yeah. I mean, your private stuff should be maintenance at this point. Like you're filling your feeders, or you're going and swapping an SD, or putting new batteries in a camera.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing you got to consider is you want to let your silly neighbors be the dummies that are in there right now, doing all the crap, because that's just more for you. So
I wouldn't even say it's the big buck work that ruins people, because I think if you go in there and you fill feeders one time and then you go out and hunt it, I think if you're in there one day, even if you're loud or whatever, I think that's going to be fine.
I agree.
Especially in we're not even talking about a big, the Drury outdoors where you have thousands of acres. I'm talking about in the small parcels, 40 to 60 acres or something. I think everybody's either, out brush hogging, or they bale hay or something. So they're used to a little bit of commotion, especially on the small parcels. So I don't think going in there one day in the summer, especially on the back 40, where, kind of like our situation, you have a 40-acre piece and the neighbor has a 40-acre piece and they have 6 people that hunt it. I think the biggest thing would be hey, I'm going to go ride my dirt bike in there. Hey, I'm going to go ride 4-wheelers back there every single weekend, or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
Or hey, I'm going to go sit out in the middle of the pasture and make a TikTok.
Yeah, and to be fair, what I mean by that is people that are doing something every single 3 days or every single 2 days. They're finding when I hunted our 40, my grandparents' 40, dude, I would go check the trail camera every 2 days. And I'm like, well, I don't know why they're not using it anymore. Well, I know, I actually do know why as an adult. But Just stuff like that. Jet Outdoors asked, what sites do y'all run? We already answered that question. Unnotched, good buddy, said, if I never fill a tag, can vegans try to fight me about being a hunter? I mean, from the outside, it looks like I'm on their side now.
Well, just saying, you're still doing more for the deer as a hunter and you don't fill a tag, like you're doing more than the vegans at your point in time, because the thing that you're doing that they're not doing is helping with conservation efforts, which your tag pays for.
Tag.
And the vegans, all they do is just complain, or some of the vegans. And so what you got to do now is just shoot an extra one this year. So
yeah, can the vegans try to fight me about being a hunter? I mean, from the outside, it looks like I'm on their side. There's a reason your name is Unnotched. So, no, they can't be mad at you.
You do know that's Brandon, right?
I know.
Okay.
I know. He texted me and said, will you please answer my question? That was like 2 weeks ago when we put this TikTok up. But I mean, he's got a very valid argument. He could be on the sides of the vegans if he never notches a tag.
But he's still doing more for it.
Yeah, he is. Thank you for buying a tag. You're the best kind of guy, Brandon. Not notching a tag and still paying for it. You go, King.
You're like me at a casino. I just go in there and donate,
Yeah, donate to my tribe.
All right, Daniel Vans.
Old Daniel.
What's your guys' saddle setup? Previously a lock-on guy, but saddle seems a little lighter to carry in.
You got that right, Daniel. No, I think we talked about it a little bit earlier, but Cruiser XC saddle, and then I have the Out on a Limb Ridge Runner 2.0. I will complain a little bit about the Out on a Limb Ridge Runner. The sucker bites the tree just a little too hard. It's like mad at the tree. So
it's hard to peel off when you go to.
The only issue that I have with it is it biting too hard. And I've used some of those cheap.
It seats down too well.
It bites. It provides too stable of a platform. Yes, basically. No, I've had use those Hawk, not to bash on Hawk or anything, but I don't think it's a secret. I've seen people use those Hawk ones, like platforms, and they jump on them, and then you watch it just kick out and like basically do a 360. And I'm like, that is not safe. I'm hanging a 200 plus pound guy off of this thing. So that's what I'm running though. Those two things. And they work really, really well. What about you, Jake? We have a very similar setup besides our platform.
You're running the Ridge Runner 2?
2.0.
I have the Podium. It's like one of his older platforms, but that thing's still kicking strong. I don't really have a complaint with it, except that. Do I want to say it?
Go ahead.
My only complaint is if you get one, you can get 10% off if you use code HNTA10. So there we go.
That's right. I don't know, mfg.com. Anyways, Austin Lunsford said, tips for hunting in general, map scouting in the Appalachian Mountains. I'm in Western North Carolina.
I know nothing about North Carolina, but if it's mountainous, I would say scouting. I think this would apply to anywhere. This is what I'm going to tell you. Map scouting, e-scouting. This is what I'll tell you. Funnel method, just like we talked about earlier in this podcast. And then I would say X marks the spot. This is a term that Parker McDonald said on one of his podcasts, and it stuck with me. And basically, imagine everybody knows deer are edge creatures. They love edges. So let's say where we hunt in Oklahoma, what you want to do is you want to have an X somewhere on your map. And what you want to try to do is put every corner of the X in a different piece of diversity, if that makes sense. So where we hunt, we have pines, oaks, water, clear cuts. So that's 4. So what I do, I like to hunt around water. I'll follow a creek or a little drainage. Doesn't have to be water. It could be a dried up creek bed, like a secondary runoff or something. And I would follow that until maybe there's an oak flat, because the pines are monotonous. So you have water, you have an oak flat edge, and then you have a pine edge. And then let's say Oh, shoot. What was my other one? Oh, clear cut. And then let's say it doesn't have to match exactly and exactly look like an X, but then you have a clear cut somewhere in the vicinity that has head high grass now. So that's might be used for bedding. So what you do is when you have the most diverse piece of section of public or private or whatever you're hunting, then you just try to be an outdoorsman. You go in there and you try to find the most deeriest sign you can. It doesn't have to be perfect; it just has to work. So, yeah, you look for rubs, scrapes, whatever floats your boat. Just look for something deery. Throw a camera up there and see if it works. Diversity. That's what I would say.
Yeah, the mountain stuff can be pretty tough, especially if you're hunting the Appalachian Mountains, which I know has they've coined the term holler. Like that's how deep and steep a lot of the places they are hunting. I'm not going to get
is deeper than.
I'm not going to get into any of the buzzwords of like benches or secondary ridges or micro drainages. Like I've heard that kind of stuff. I just feel like that overcomplicates everything that's going on. Like if I was to go hunt those sort of areas, like Jake said, I'd be looking for edges. I'd be looking for terrain features that consolidate movement. Drainages are one, or some people call them fingers, are one that I would like to get. And you really can keep it as simple as like John Eberhardt was talking about, was like, where's a bedding area? What is a bedding area? The bedding area is the thickest portion of a property. It's the most security cover in a property. Find a place that has really, really good bedding, and that might take walking around and bumping a few deer to find, and then find features around that you can exploit with a good wind direction. And it might be hard to do in the mountains if this wind swirls like where we hunt, but that's just what I would do. Is I'd be looking for bedding areas, and I'd be looking for terrain features that consolidate movement. That's going to especially if you're bow hunting. I'll keep it that simple.
Yes. So next question is also Daniel. Expectations for this hunting season.
Oh man, Daniel, I hope I shoot 150 incher on private. I hope I shoot 180 incher on public, and I hope I shoot a 200 incher with my recurve on this draw hunt. So
is that an extra tag? I forgot to ask you. Is that
no,
an extra tag?
Not. No, it is an extra tag. Yes.
Oh, so you might be able to shoot $3.
If you shoot a Pope and Young on that hunt, they give you another tag for that weekend. So if you shoot a 130 and if it goes over 125, they'll give you another tag, and you can keep hunting for $1. So in that case, I'm hoping to shoot a 125, a 150, a 180, and a 200. Now that is literally like, I've heard Don Higgins told me to dream big, so I'm literally dreaming for the stars, baby. I'm hoping God really comes through for me this season. That's what I would hope for, or just $3 or $4 that absolutely get my heart going, and then a antelope would be awesome. That's my expectations, or my hope. Those are my expectations. Those are my hopes. What about you?
I think mine would be to have fun, and I'm going to try to shoot my target buck on private and trying to go after the biggest deer we have on camera on public. But other than that, I really just want to shoot a deer, so I'm just going to leave it at that. So whatever may happen, happens.
Shoot them early, shoot them often, and have a lot of fun. That's the goal. And hold our goals very loosely. Like, it might be October 29th, and we're like, it's a rain and arrows.
Someone's got to get the killing started, man. Take the lid off the basket.
Why'd you shoot this forky? I had to. It was for the group. It wasn't for me.
Technically, it's 11 pointers, so shut up.
Yeah. So make sure to go check out our sponsors. I know you guys have heard them throughout the episode. We try not to beat you over the head with it, but it's almost hunting season.
And that's the thing. If you're going to buy it, just use the code. Like,
you might as well help us.
If you need a platform, hey, and if you like listening to us for some reason, we're not going to shoot you dirty, or we're not going to do you dirty. That's the correct saying for it.
Yep.
These are actually, this is why we only have 2 partnerships
as
of right now. It's because we like to use stuff that actually works, and we're not going to feed you a load of crap, if that makes sense. Your word's more important than anything else you have here. Right?
That's right.
So not going to get too deep, not going to get too try hard, but these are really good items. And if you're going to get something, get that. And if you get that, use the damn code. It's that simple.
That's right. Make sure to leave us some rating and review. I think we're up to like 97 on Apple Podcasts, which is awesome. We really appreciate you guys leaving them on Facebook. We have like over 10 now. And we have a 5-star rating on Facebook. So you guys are absolute monsters for that.
So screw that guy that left the 1 star.
That's
all
right.
I'm
You
saying.
freaking Chinese bot, whoever did that. Anyways,
Some vegan.
some vegan. Thank you for doing that. Make sure to go check out the video version of the podcast, Hunter's Advantage podcast on YouTube. Leave us a rating and review, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode. Thanks.
Jesus loves you.
Bye.
Thank you guys so much for checking out the Hunter's Advantage podcast. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure to leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to the podcast. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you in the next episode.